to Computer AF. I'm John Boydnott.
I'm Anne Ahola Ward, and welcome to episode number Sweet 16.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's wonderful. Sorry, it was giving me a note here. I'm trying to. Anyway, what's going on? How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm enjoying spooky season. I don't know if you can tell I like Halloween. Someone said that the other
Boo.
day. Yeah, someone who I hadn't talked to in a long time, I got on a video with, and they're like, "So you like Halloween?" It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
hmm, what
Little
gave you
witch
that
hats and
impression?
everything.
What gave you that impression? I'm having a spooky craft night this week, which I'm very excited about. We're going to make a haunted cookie house and some other fun crafts. The holidays and the winter months get me just feeling very creative and crafty. And, you know, my hands and my brain get frisky for crafts.
This is just sort of the way you're begging for an excuse to get crafty, which of course immediately brings up a Beastie Boys song from like 1985. But
Nice.
still, she's crafty.
Oh,
Um,
I know. I love that song. I love
she's
that
just
song.
my type. Yep.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
happy Boo season to you, Boo.
Yes, yes. I've been enjoying the Paramount Theater is a historic independent theater here in Austin that is one of, I think, like 200 independent theaters left in the country. And they're doing like a scary movie series. And so I went and saw this weekend Halloween 3
Nice.
and Return of the Living Dead. I have to be honest, the double feature was a little much for me. So we left in the middle of the second one. But
Oh yeah.
I had seen Halloween 3 and not realized it because it is such a not Halloween that it didn't register to me that I had watched it before. I was like, oh, I don't think I've seen most of the Halloween movies. And then guess what? Every Halloween I watch a series of horror movies. And without really trying this year, I chose Halloween, which I hadn't
Yeah.
seen the first two. I'd only seen the later ones that came on cable when I was a kid. And let me tell you, the third one is just like way out on planet Mars. But I do like the robots. I
There
do
were
like the.
robots in it. It was on. Was it on Planet Mars?
It might as well have been.
Might as well.
There was no
With
Mike
robots.
Myers. There was no Jamie Lee Curtis. Like I literally watched it without any recognition mentally that it was a Halloween movie. The only Halloween aspect of it was like one brief second where they showed Mike Myers on a TV screen.
That's it.
And there was no other anything, and so that's why it's a controversial movie within the Halloween series, because people didn't like that it didn't have any of the original characters. It was just as clearly the same people wanted to do another movie, and they're like, yeah, let's do
Yeah,
it.
that's like Alien. That's like let's do an Alien movie, but let's not have any aliens in it. It's like go away from the thing that actually gets people into the seats. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's Mike Myers, it's killing, and it was Jamie Lee Curtis, but then Jamie Lee Curtis took a step away from the franchise in the later 80s and 90s because she had so much popularity from A Fish Called Wanda and other
Yeah.
movies that she was doing. She was too big of a star. But then she came back in later. And
Yes.
the sad part is the movies kind of, in my opinion, did not get better in her
No.
out.
Yeah. I mean, I think
They
that's
got
part of the
worse.
reason why Jamie Lee Curtis didn't really want to be involved too much with them was because the quality of what was kind of there wasn't really what she was probably hoping that they would be. So she was like, "Hey, I'm not going to really." She probably looked at the script and was like, "This one looks like it takes place on
Yeah, I'm a
Mars."
major star right now. I don't need to do this. I'm Hollywood royalty. My dad
She
was Tony
is. She's
Curtis.
fantastic. Well,
Yeah, I
so
really like her.
so what's going on in the AI tech world this week? Are you one of the first stories that you sent to me was about this AI governmental body that may go bye bye, or what was the story with that?
There was a basically an entity that was created by executive order by Joe Biden that
Joe
for what
Biden.
for
Sorry.
whatever, don't worry, we've agreed to not talk politics due to everyone being sick of them.
Yes.
It was essentially
Oh
a
no! Wait. Look here. See? Okay. No. Go ahead.
the
Sorry.
US AI Safety Institute, which government and AI and understanding it, not really a natural fit. But essentially that people want it. There was a coalition of over 60 companies and nonprofits and universities calling on Congress to basically codify the AI Safety Institute before the changing of hands in the election, because
Mm,
our current president's not running again. So there's going to be a
mm.
changing of hands. And so essentially, it may go away just almost as a paperwork thing.
Right.
So it seems like um, there's been some bipartisan bills that have advanced, and essentially, the only opposition has been from your Ted Cruz's
Yeah.
and people
Your Ted
who
Cruzes. It's a group of folks. They're called the Ted Cruzes. But no, it's fine. We're trying not to be political as
yeah,
hard as
I like
we
how I announced that we weren't going to be political and then we immediately got political, which is how that happens.
can.
So,
I mean,
but
I
the
think
Safety Institute was a good idea and something that I think a lot of people, government institutions, nonprofits, and universities supported, but could go away almost on a lark because of the changing of the guards. So I'm hopeful that that continues, because I do feel like somebody should be watching this that doesn't have a vested commercial interest.
yeah. Well, I mean, look, I don't have too much to say on that other than, with folks like Elon Musk who have a lot of influence on a certain side of the aisle, who, he's always been very much a proponent of trying to figure out how to handle AI in a better way. So hopefully he can have a good influence there with his side of the aisle. And then, it's hard for me to really feel like our government's going to do a great job of sort of managing what money for an organization like that, for a government entity like that, when we aren't even sure if we're necessarily going to have Social Security 10 years from now. So I don't know. It all feels a little up in the air. I just hope that everyone is okay in the end.
That's
That's
all
all.
you can hope for.
It's all you can.
All you can hope for. I definitely I love AI. I hate AI. I have a lot of feelings about it. I tried recently to use AI to buy a car.
Right. Yeah.
And that wasn't the purchasing of the car, it was the researching of the car decision. I
Right.
will say it's a very weird and confusing time. Buying a car is like buying a mattress. There's a lot of advertising out there. There's a lot of um, information out there that feels sort of quasi useful, because
Yeah.
they're like reviews that are clearly purchased review sites, or like there's a lot of information that you just can tell is not genuine. But I did find it useful using AI to look at certain model years that I was interested in. So, like looking at them and looking at the reviews, what are the downsides? And then I think maybe part of the reason buying a car is so hard for me is that I'm a marketing person.
You're right.
So I'm not
You
just
see
buying it.
through the lies and the skullduggery. Oh wait, no. What's
Well,
the ship flimflammery?
yes, the flimflammery is high, but also I'm sort of looking at it as a, well, do I identify with their messaging? Do I identify who is
Yeah.
so some of what I was researching, and I'm not too proud to admit this, is like, what are the user demographics of this in this car? And I was
Mm,
curious. Some of them were easy, like what is the user demographic of a Volvo or a Subaru? It's
mm.
pretty clear. Am I buying a car right for my age group and my status in society? Like it's a whole thing that I didn't really need to be, but I ended up not, putting my head in the ground and not buying a car yet. But um, I
Punting
think
the decision down
I
the
ended
road.
up punting it, but I will say that I think that the core thing is use AI in these instances for research, combing review sites, finding specific information on model years,
Yeah.
reviews, recalls, maintenance costs, things like that. It really made it easier for me. Is AI going to buy a car for me? Probably not. Although if Anthropic gets their way, they might.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's. I totally hear what you have to say with regard to seeing through the marketing. I remember one time me and Matthew, an ex-boyfriend, went to a Toyota dealership, and they had a certain type of Lexus that I wanted. It was a hatchback. And I get in there, me and Matthew get in there, and we get in there with a salesperson. The salesperson was nice enough, but he was younger and didn't quite know how to handle sort of a gay couple showing them a car. And he did make a comment as we were driving off in this hatchback Lexus, which was like they didn't actually make anymore. It was 2 or 3 years old, and but it was good. It was a Lexus, but it was a hatchback. Whatever. He said this type of car is pretty popular with a certain segment of the population. And both me and Matthew were just like, Okay, all right, thank you. So it was, I don't know, it kind of ended up not going for that car, but it was sort of my second choice, and I ended up taking the Toyota Prius that I got, which
Well,
was very similar. It's very similar.
Lexus is just a more expensive Toyota.
It is. I mean, it probably would have lasted just as long. It had a few extra bells and whistles, but they wanted a bunch of money, and it already had like 40,000 miles on it. So it's kind of like, I don't know about that. But whatever. You kind of had to be there with the way the salesperson was. He was doing his best, but it was a little uncomfortable. But it was fine. It wasn't AI. For something like that, to me, still feels more important than AI. But yeah, like you said, AI is good for the research.
I think it can shortcut repetitive tasks. I would say
Yes.
that the big AI news this week is Anthropic.
Yeah,
Um,
the whole desktop thing.
they
I ended
had
up.
a.
Go ahead.
Did you use it or have you tried it yet?
I didn't. Well, I use Anthropic more than I use just in general, but I have not used this new sort of like platform slash feature. I'm not quite exactly sure what it is yet. It seems like basically it allows Anthropic and Claude to take over your desktop if you want it to. Meaning, if you give it permission, then you need it to accomplish a task. It would use the resources that are on your computer. It would be able to access those resources and like fill out a form. Let's say you wanted to sign up for some kind of an organization. The organization needs you to fill out a form. It would be able to do that based on all the information in your computer, things like that. And there's more to it. I'm not sure if it's like available right now. It might be. I mean, for what I'm using Anthropic and Claude for, it's a lot more limited than that. I'm not. Who knows exactly what it's going to look like in the future? But essentially, it's a way for Claude to take over your desktop. So we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of like the big story in the last couple, day or two here.
Right. I would say that the news release for Anthropic for Claude this week was the Sonnet model,
Yeah.
which has improved coding and reasoning. I think what interests me about this release specifically is that they have launch partners, partners like Canva, Asana, Replit.
Mm,
I'm a Canva user as an agency. It makes a lot of sense as a quick and easy creative tool. Um, and their image creation is just wacky, but it's also fun. The AI bits of Canva. But the idea of taking over your desktop is very interesting because there are only two reasons I can think of to do that. Like, number one, making it not time out if I'm in some kind of waiting situation to
mm,
buy concert tickets or something
ooh,
like that. Or if
yeah.
you're in a queue for something or you want to keep a chat bot
Ooh,
active that you're waiting for customer service and it's
yeah.
timing out on you. The only other use case for Anthropic that I can think of for a desktop takeover is making your Slack stay active because you're a remote worker who gets
Mm.
spied on. You don't want to get busted,
Yeah.
not looking like you're active during work hours. I'm not the kind of, my team's all remote, so I'm not the kind of boss that's checking that. But if you were, maybe this desktop takeover is something that you can use to do that and look like you're busier than you really are. Because, I mean, what else would you want to let AI take over your desktop for? Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
I remember reading the last day or two, something about, and I wasn't even sure, I'm not even sure if the story is real, but it's something along the lines of some people wanting to use different AI tools to be able to respond to almost all of their emails. I guess because almost all of the emails are going to be ones that are pretty like quick and easy to respond to without much thought. That you'd be fine more or less with whatever you might send in response to what had been sent to you. So that would take away a lot of the time that we would have to spend on email, which is annoying for all of us to some extent. But we'll see what that looks like in the next 5 years or so.
I mean, there are certainly a lot of tools. I had an employee once use an overseas assistant, like a $5 an hour somewhere
Mm,
overseas person to read through their emails. I would never do that. I think that that's uncomfortable and who knows, rife with potential for fraud.
yeah,
But I mean, I don't want to assume anything about anybody, but I would just say that I'm not going to ever let anyone else read my email.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, we have to expect disruption anywhere we're spending too much time as humans. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things I also saw announced this week, which was very funny. Google loves to kill products. Like there's whole websites dedicated to the graveyard of Google products.
Yeah.
They love
Yeah.
creating and randomly renaming things. Like Data Studio, which I've used for years, they renamed to Looker for no real reason, maybe an acquisition. I'm like, I don't like saying Looker. I Data Studio,
Blogger. Remember Blogger? I liked Blogger.
yeah, Google Reader was my favorite product they killed, and I never ever
Mhm.
understood why. But
Yeah.
anyway, they've decided in their infinite wisdom that they're removing the search box from other sites. So you used to be able to, like in a broken out news search result, and if you don't know what the Google search box is, then you probably weren't using it and maybe they're right to kill it. But the search box is essentially in the broken out series of results and search within like the New York Times or a news site. There was a little search box that appeared under those results where you could search within the site. Apparently, nobody's using it anymore, so they're end of lifing it.
Yeah. Who knows what sort of metrics they're seeing that are influencing that decision?
But I'm
But
I'm gonna exactly, and I'm being honest when I say that
if
try to
any.
use Gemini AI to prepare for the show today. I was a little short on time, and I thought, oh, I'll use
Be a
AI to write,
list.
and John will never tell.
Give me a
Well,
list
guess
of
what?
people you're telling.
I know, and I'm telling, and I was honest with you about it because I always feel like I can't lie to you.
Aw. I
But
think the same
so
way.
Gemini told me all the top tech news this week about Google. I said, tell me the top news stories. And it literally gave me 5 stories about Google. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's
trust
what I
you
said.
guys.
Google gonna Google. I'm just gonna go to Tech Meme or something like that. That
Yeah,
actually,
there's better places to go. Well, and I asked Claude, right? I asked Claude too. And Claude actually was very sweet and said, my information stops in April. So
yes.
you can't,
Yeah.
you know, I will say those results from Claude are a little more thoughtful,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially about anything about your feelings or personal or I ask all these AI things, very personal things, like how do I make friends? And I just like to see the random tips that it gives. And
Yeah.
Claude's were by far the most thoughtful.
To me,
And
just not to, just to hop onto the Claude love train real quick. You can engage in these really long, Claude, one of these really, long conversations with them. And of course, it will tell you that it takes a little bit longer to come up with a response, with these longer conversations, but it still does it, and it still does a great job. And it's great for when you want to come up with similar story outlines over a long period of time. You're like, okay, hey, try and make this outline kind of similar to one of the outlines that we created like several months back, and it can totally do that, and it does a pretty good job with that. So it does it intelligently, and whereas other tools would not be able to do that nearly as well. And granted, that's something that the other tools will probably catch up on, but that's sort of one of the things that separates Claude right now.
right, I feel like Claude's the longer, more thoughtful, conversational. Gemini's the more quick hit stuff.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT is more personalized. Will learn your tone of voice. Will you can train
Mhm.
it better. Gemini, you're not training Gemini to do much. You're gonna have it do rewrites of things. You're gonna have it give you some suggestions, aggregate information. Um, there's supposedly a text to image feature rolling out, but
Yeah.
they roll back stuff all the time. They had to roll back a bunch of stuff because of some of the um, people were using it to make pictures of Nazis and things.
Yeah. No, the usual. The usual. The internet
The
gonna internet.
Godwin's law has come true in every. I think there should be an update on Godwin's law just for AI. Like Godwin's law is that eventually any internet dispute will devolve into calling each other Nazis.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
that's right. Yeah.
like an AI update to Godwin's law would be that eventually all AI will be used to misrepresent or recreate something from the Nazis. I think there's just like
Yeah.
there's some inevitable like that's the litmus test for societal sort of ailments and woes. Is this true? Can we trust this? And I did a segment last week on AI and talking about buying the car, and the anchors very sweetly asked me, "Can we trust it?" And I was like, I was appearing in a battleground state, so I was like, "No, hallucinations, hallucinations. Anything that seems too good to be true."
Yeah.
Go ahead
You always
and
have to take that with a grain of salt. It's always a good piece of advice to be able to do that. All right, okay, so let's move on to the Verge story that you had sent me about air taxis. I mean, I've seen so many. Well, first of all, just tell us what the story is. But I mean, having said that, we've seen so many things about air taxis in the last several years. It's like, okay, when is this going to happen already? I'm still not seeing any taxis in the sky. But yeah, okay, what
right.
was the story?
So this is the first new category in aircraft in nearly 80 years. The FAA has made a historic ruling that's going to pave the way to accommodate advanced air mobility, electronic power lifted aircraft.
Okay,
So this is different in that it's an FAA blessing of these different types of air vehicles that are electronically driven, such that they're able to recategorize.
okay,
So essentially, what we're seeing is that these new rules are going to pave the way for innovation
great.
because that has not been allowed up until now. Um, and apparently, a lot of people came out swinging at the FAA and they took it to heart. And then they've got new training and qualifications rules, which I think is a good thing. I think
Yeah,
that if we're changing the type of aircraft, if we're changing the rules around it, we probably should come up with some new rules as to how to fly these things and training to do
yeah.
so. Makes sense. So it seems like it was just sort of a formal blessing and something that seems like a sign of the times because can you believe they haven't created a new category in 80 years
Wow, yeah. Well, I
with all
mean,
the advancements we've had?
you got to have special training for people who would fly those things. I mean, if you're going to have a special category just for people to have, driving semis, or whatever, large
Or
trucks.
well, and what about autonomous vehicles, right?
Sure.
Are we going to see that these long haul trucks are going to have AI capabilities and autonomous capabilities? What does that look like? I don't know. I'm not really up on it, but I think we see a lot of talk about air taxis. We see a lot of startups trying and failing to do that in autonomous vehicles. Um, but this is the first time we've seen the FAA actually bless it, which is a good thing. I think that that's going to pave the way for more funding, more innovation.
Yeah.
Um,
We
hopefully,
definitely need that. And, the freeways are packed,
well,
in a lot
yeah, and the smog, right? Like if these
of
are
electric.
electric vehicles, will they
Yeah.
emit less um, grossness into our atmosphere? That would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Potentially.
I'll
Potentially.
take an air taxi, sure. Am I going to wear a parachute? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Very
will I
much.
take one? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it sounds fun.
There's
Um,
clearly a lot of time. It's a long road before we get to, no pun intended, before we get to the part where these things are so reliable that we don't need to worry so much about falling to our demise. But hey, bric-a-brac, what you got going on in your life? Wait, so what did
ooh.
you do? You went to the movies this weekend? That was fun.
Yes, I went to a double feature. It's like the spooky series from the Paramount Theater here in Austin.
Awesome.
I recently joined their sponsor package, which was very generous. It was like for $100 a month, I get some free movie tickets. I actually got a bunch of complimentary drink tickets,
Nice.
which immediately were put to use. Um, and then the parking, and the parking is really the thing, but also just knowing that I'm supporting
A local.
independent theater. It's a place I really enjoy going. It's this old, beautiful, historic theater in the heart of downtown Austin.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I
great.
have been, catching up on the Halloween series of movies, which I gotta be honest, once I got to the mid 2000s, I started to wane on it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like, I don't like slashers. I'm not a slasher horror movie. I'm more of a suspense horror movie.
Mhm.
But last night, I rewatched Practical Magic.
Oh, which one is that again?
Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock,
Was that
Aidan
was that a Ron
Quinn.
Howard film or so? No, or was that?
Probably. It's a pretty family friendly one.
Yeah.
All the women in my life love that movie. It's a sort of romantic-y Halloween because it's got some romance, it's got some family stuff. It's a very like innocuous romantic Halloween film to get into for spooky season. I also like Hocus Pocus for that.
Yeah,
That's
great.
another family friendly with some dirty bits to it, but mostly friendly.
Mhm.
Um,
You can
but
have Bette Midler. You can have a few dirty bits.
exactly.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
There's some dirty jokes in there that I didn't get the first time around when I was younger watching it, and that I got when I was older. I was like, oh, okay, got it. But I would say that True Blood has also been fun to rewatch.
Nice.
True Blood we watched when it first came out,
Oh
and
yeah,
I've been enjoying the rewatch. Although the end of it is kind of
yeah. Not
that
so
last
great.
few seasons, kind of you could tell they were running out of juice.
Yeah, yeah. It was. They sort of ran out of time on that one. But what are you going to do? Hey, we just had AI week here in the Bay Area, so I went to a couple of AI events. It was really just some people talking in front of a lot of other people sitting, and also the networking stuff. So there was some networking. Really, it's just same old kind of stuff. There wasn't too much going on for me. I was kind of just looking to turn it into some way to get new clients for my writing business. Or check out if there's anybody interesting to write about, or things like that. And there
Mhm.
wasn't all that much going on, but yeah, it's around AI in the San Francisco Bay Area. There has been somewhat of an increase in activity of VC activity, startup activity, folks talking to each other, events taking place type of activity that is starting to rival again the way it used to be before the pandemic. And that's cool. So I've gone to a few of those things in between working my two jobs. And as far as movies go, I remember I saw there was a Transformers movie I saw with some friends. There's just some
Nice.
different things. Nothing too special going on right now. Watching Only Murders in the Building. Um,
Oh, I love that show.
yeah.
Such good people in it.
Yep, and they're coming down to the season finale of this fourth season, which isn't out yet, and is going to be out like next week. And so we'll see on that. I'm looking forward to it, loving it. It's filled with twists and turns and suspense and good writing and funny jokes, and it's a good show. It's,
Hmm.
it's a delight.
Yeah, it is a delight, and it's so well acted, so well written. I can enjoy it with my friends. I can enjoy it with my mom. Like it's a multi generational. If you haven't seen the episode yet, I'm not sorry for spoiling this, but the one with Melissa McCarthy.
Oh yeah, she's just
Oh my
she's just
god! And the doorbell
Mhm.
chime being
Bottle of
the beginning of
red,
the
bottle of white. Yeah.
a couple years ago. I killed that song for my husband because I kept singing the beginning. Bottle of red. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh my god, I want
Some
that."
people some people say that is Billy Joel's best song. I think even Billy Joel says that that's his best song. But he
Really?
has a lot of great songs. But
I mean, wouldn't it be like Uptown Girl or She's
yeah, no,
All
I mean,
Over
yeah, I love you
Me
just the way
or
you are.
We Didn't Start the Fire?
Piano Man, you know,
Piano Man, I mean, has got to be probably the top three most popular.
yeah,
I think that that song captured a sentiment that a lot of people related to
yeah,
about aging and coming of age. But
yeah.
I love that that was the doorbell. I was like,
Oh, it's
oh,
amazing, just
as soon
amazing.
as I heard it, I was like, this is gonna be good. That's probably my favorite episode of the season. Is
It's
Melissa
very good.
McCarthy. And seeing them as siblings was like a little stretch for me, but I was willing to do it.
Yeah,
They went above and beyond to be like, you're so much older. It's like, well, yeah,
yes.
the audience, we
And then
knew that.
she gets in the cat fight with Meryl Streep. Oh my God, that was so good. I love
That
that.
was fantastic.
There,
That one,
Melissa McCarthy is such a physical comedian that she had to do something like that. There had to be
yeah.
a fight with her in
What
there.
was her drink she was drinking too? It was
It
fantastic.
was it was just vodka with Crystal Light in it. That was all it was. It wasn't. There was no mixer. There's no chaser.
No
It's just
water,
vodka
no
with Crystal Light
seltzer,
in
straight up Crystal Light, and no ice. No
it.
ice.
It's just anyway. And on that note, are we going to actually make it within
I
30
think we
minutes today?
might. I think we might. We decided to keep it under 30 minutes today to reserve your precious time, audience.
Yeah, you're
So,
welcome. Crystal Light with vodka in it. Wait, no, yeah, vodka with Crystal Light
mm,
in it.
yeah, no, this is a Rambler.
Well, look, it's wonderful talking to you about the news of the day. AI is still what everyone is talking about. AI is the news now, and fortunate that there's nothing else going on in the world but
Yeah,
that.
no, nothing else at all. No elections, no wars, nothing. Just,
Go out there and do your part and vote. I did, and I know you
yeah,
did too. Yeah.
we're happy to keep doing this as long as humans are still creating content until we're replaced by our AI brethren.
We will, yeah, we will until that happens. We will hang out in the basement with all the computers that were recently thrown out, in a little bit of a show that we like to call Computer
Computer
AF.
AF. Goodbye, Internet.
Bye, internet.